What's up, Rhapsody Piano Studio? Welcome to today's live stream. Just a reminder that this is a weekly live stream that happens every Saturday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, California time. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of posture at the piano, like how to sit at the piano, how to sit on a piano bench. The things I'm going to be talking about is why posture is so important, how you can find the right distance, and also a few tools, maybe a couple tools that you can use to figure out, how to check to make sure you're at the right proper distance and height. How to check. All right. So first, we're going to talk about why posture is so very important. And to illustrate this, I remember there was a talk that I watched a long time ago. It's called it's a TED Talk. Yeah, it's called the TED Talk, in case you didn't know what that is. And the presentation was, but this is a really long time ago. I just don't even remember what age I was at, to be honest. I'll put a link. Actually, I was able to find it online, so I'll put a link into the description below if you want to see for yourself. This is a pretty interesting presentation, and it was by Amy Cuddy. I really don't know who she is. Probably someone intelligent, and she was talking about, I think it was overall body language, but for all intents and purposes, it's kind of the same thing to me. So she was talking about body language, I'm talking about posture, very similar stuff. And it was basically how posture pretty much, if you want to be more confident and things like that too, if you want to be in a better mood, things of that nature, that it's the posture that really makes it what you are. So if you want to be more confident, you kind of have to, sit more confidently or walk more confidently, or just posture. I think it's common sense stuff that everyone knows. But what the fascinating thing was in this presentation was that they would do psychology experiments, whatever you call them. So we're back. One group, they had them pose confidently. They would have them, even if they're sitting down, imagine you're sitting in a chair, have their hands behind their back like that, laying back, even tell them to put their feet on the table like they're a boss, right? Or they would even make them do something simple as just like a Superman pose standing up. And they did this right before they were interviewing for like a job. I don't know if it was like a real job interview or not. But I think you can kind of tell what happens next is that they got the results from that interview. The interviewees, they just all said like they aced their interview for one thing. And they would say, yeah, they were so much more confident. They were very confident. They interviewed very well. I would definitely hire this person, or actually did hire this person, right? Now, the other flip side of it is that they had another group, just really, again, the sit. With the posture thing, like they made them sit and pose and all that as uncomfortably as possible, as unconfidently, if you want to think of it that way. So they have their, the chest caved in, they're like hiding from the world, that type of thing. And of course, they did not do so well at the interview. The fascinating thing about this is that they did some type of test where they would take saliva swabs. They would swab their saliva like before and after the interviews took place. And the crazy thing is that their body chemistry actually changed. It's like their hormones were affected just from the point of posture. That's ridiculous, right? So they actually measured the levels, right? So their body chemistry was like before and after. Is not, I don't know how drastic it was, but it was different. So it literally changed their body composite. It's kind of crazy when you think about it that way. And vice versa for the other group that weren't as confident. I think it was something like their cortisol, which is like the hormone that emits stress or something like that. Like that was actually higher. So that's kind of crazy, right? So I hope that kind of illustrates the importance of posture to you guys. Now, another reason why is that I'll give you another story of why posture, especially for a pianist. We're back. So if any of you guys don't know what the Cliburn Competition is, if you're like a real piano nerd like me or someone who's really interested in this stuff, then you'll know that the Cliburn Competition was an international, I'm not sure if it still is happening right now. I'm pretty sure it's still happening right now, but it's like an international competition, piano competition that happens like every 2 years or so, right? So every other year they'll have this competition, and it's in Texas. So it's a really interesting place to have it, but they have a really great community out there. And I actually got to see one of these competitions. I was fortunate enough to watch, you know, like a couple of days or so, like in person, and it was an amazing experience. But this competition is kind of interesting, and I also have a documentary. All right, hopefully we won't have as many interruptions. Sorry about that, YouTube peoples. So with the whole, God, where was I? All right, Van Cliburn. So they really pamper their pianists. And for one thing, they let them choose between two different Steinways. Like I think it was like a New York and a German Steinway. To put this in context, it's just like if you were buying a car, or if you're, you know, like driving a car, do you want Rolls Royce number 1 or Rolls Royce number 2? So that's another way to think about that. Well, what they actually did was, not only did they let them choose which piano to work on to play for their performance, they actually, when they were sitting at the piano, they would measure the exact distance that it was away from the piano, and these are adjustable benches, right? They even like literally measured from the bottom to the top, like to the nearest inch, maybe even more than an inch, like the exact measurements for every single performer, and they would write that down. And I remember even watching this in person when I was watching the concerts, and between performers, they would have the tech guy come up and actually, you know, he pulls out his notes, puts the chair in the right distance, and even takes his ruler out, and then even heightens it until he gets the exact precise height that it needs to be at. So this is how important it is to sit at the right height and at the right distance and posture and all that at the piano, especially for a pianist. That's how important it is. Now, the other reason why this is so very important is that how you sit at the piano is going to totally determine your piano technique. So, you know, we'll just go really common sense stuff. Poor posture means poor piano technique, because you have to have good posture to have proper piano technique. I mean, the hands and arms have to be in the proper distance to put your arms and hands in the right place. You have to be at the proper position when you're sitting, okay? Now, let's talk about the height and distance, and I'm just going to give you a few heuristics. We call them, you know, rules of thumb. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible for you guys, so to figure out if you're at the proper height and at the proper distance from the piano. Now, you have to have the right bench. If you are starting out, you haven't got your bench yet, I'm going to highly suggest to you get a bench that is adjustable. You know, they have like these wheels on the end where you can go up and down, kind of like the one I'm sitting on. It's not a good angle. You can't see the bench. So just use your imagination. So you can it'll go up and it'll go down like an elevator, okay? So you want to get these benches. They're going to be typically more expensive, but it's worth the cost, okay? Now, if you can't afford it, then the next model you're going to have to go with is a piano bench that you cannot adjust. That only comes in one size. And like, I have opinions about one size fits all models. There's just no one size that fits all. So unfortunately, if you have one of these benches, then the best advice I can give you is that you're going to need to prop yourself up, because for me, every time I've ever sat at a bench that is not adjustable, it's always been too low for me. So I've always had to prop myself out, and you know, I think I'm of average height. I don't think I'm short, but let's say average height, definitely not tall. I've always had to prop myself up with like a seat cushion. I got desperate enough, I get like books and stuff like that too. So that's the way around that. And if you're a younger student, or if you're the parent of a younger student, then highly recommend getting a footstool. And I feel embarrassed about that, because that's something that's on my list of things to buy. I mean, I am really embarrassed about that, actually. I need to get one of those footstools, because all the students usually, their feet dangle like on the bench. So you want something where the feet will be flat on that, okay? Kind of feel like a hypocrite for saying that, but whatever. I'm helping you guys. So, okay. All right, so I'm gonna demo for you the proper height and distance to sit at the piano. The easy way to think about this is that when you're sitting on a piano bench and you can't see the bench, so you're gonna have to use your imagination, sorry, is that when you're sitting, you start with your arms and your hands. When you put your hands onto the piano, do you see the angle that it's at too? And you wanna think that your wrist, this could actually go a little bit lower. I had some students before that. So this is how I like to sit. And these little rules of thumb I'm giving you, it's from years of piano research that I've done. You know, I went through like a lot of material to figure out, and these are just like real practical, you know, stuff that I'm trying to tell you here. So you put your hand on the piano. You want to make sure your wrist and your elbow is pretty level. Don't be like too crazy with this stuff. Doesn't need to be exact. You don't need to get like a ruler or anything. Just kind of eyeball it or feel it out. So when you put your hands onto the piano, and of course proper hand posture, it's like you want it curled a little bit. It's almost like a little cave, a little dome. You're holding someone on the inside. Put your hand onto the piano, and then your wrist, your elbows like so. It's like pretty even. It doesn't need to be exactly even. And then when you're sitting, another way I like to think about this is the angle that your arm is at. It's kind of like a slight L. You don't want it exactly 90 degrees, okay? So this is the proper distance for me. And then you can work it out from there. You don't have to like use this forever. You'll find eventually what works for you. So put your hand at this distance, right? Like so. And you can't see this, can't see my butt, but where I'm sitting is I'm in the center of the piano bench. You don't want to sit too close to the edge. You don't want to sit too far back. Another way to think about this is that, okay, the way I'm thinking about this is when I'm sitting on this bench, it feels like to me that I have about 60% of my entire body weight is supported by the bench, and about 40% is in the floor, on the floor. So it's like my feet on the floor. It's like 40% feet, 60% bench. I mean, you can kind of tweak those ratios to figure out what works for you. Okay, so that's basically it for like how to sit at the piano. Make sure you're at the right height and at the right distance. Now, some tools. I'll give you some tools in a minute. I'll give you a little bit of advice. First advice is this is really common sense stuff. Is that to have good posture at the piano, you just should have good posture overall. And what I mean by good posture at the piano is, are you keeping your back straight and whatnot? So really take care of your health. It has to do with exercise, not only exercise, but it's also diet. Because, if you're putting bad food into your body, your energy levels are also going down too. So maybe, you're healthy, you're fit. Maybe you're even fit and you're just, hopefully not, like you're eating garbage, right? That's going to affect your mental energy. And when your mental energy goes, your physical energy goes too. So it doesn't matter how fit you are. You're going to get more tired easily at the piano. You're going to have less productive sessions, and your posture is really going to go downhill. So, exercise and have good diet, especially with the exercise thing, is that with the exercise thing, and this is a little personal story that I have with me, is that when I was in college, I started to suffer from like really, not a severe, but it was enough to bother me, like back problems, and I got back pain, and I still do to this day, right? But so I minimized it by working out and exercising. So that's something you don't want to experience. If you start sooner than later, maybe you won't even have an injury in the future. It would be good if you didn't experience that. So it got really bad to the point where I was suffering, and then I couldn't practice as long as I wanted. So I started working out, started lifting weights, really do, deadlifts, squats, back, things like that too. I want to be as strong as possible so I don't have to worry about my posture. So simple way to not have to think about your posture is just to work out, and hopefully you'll just naturally have good posture to begin with, all right? And also just other common sense thing is that to take frequent breaks, to stretch yourself out, do whatever stretches you need to do. If you really have a hard time and you're struggling about like, is my posture like good and whatnot, like take a lot of breaks. Within maybe a 30-minute session, you want to take 2 or 3 breaks at a time. Okay, a few minutes here and there, get up, stretch. Make sure just to be aware of how you're sitting at the piano. And another thing, and oh man, it's actually upstairs. I don't want to walk upstairs to get this tool, but it's this little back stretcher that I have. It's really cool. Actually, I'm gonna go upstairs real quick. I do want to show it to you guys. It's pretty cool. All right, one second. I'm gonna get this off me, and I'm going to go run upstairs and get it for you guys. Okay, let me get my bike back on. Whew. It's kind of hot today. Got a little workout in. This is what I use to stretch my back. It's pretty cool, I think. I don't know what it's called. The name is like Comfort Fit. I read it in like a book. A lot of people use this to really stretch out their back, because what people notice is that they don't get a lot of flexibility in the back. I use this a lot, maybe not a lot, maybe like once a day, twice a day if I can get away with it. But they really recommend 5 minutes twice a day. Sorry, out of breath. So 5 minutes twice a day, you use this to stretch yourself out. I'll put a link in the description below. The other thing that's cool about this is that a lot of people don't sleep well because of back problems. Is if you use this before you go to sleep, I've heard that it can increase the quality of your sleep as well. All right, so those are some tools. The other tool I recommend, make sure you have good posture. It's like, how do you check to see if you have good posture? Well, the simple thing is what I'm doing right now. I'm recording myself. So just get your iPhone out and record a session where you're practicing, go back, look at it, make adjustments. The other thing, besides an iPhone, if you don't want to go electronics, the only other thing that I can think about is if you get like a giant body-sized mirror or, just a portable one and put it next to you, right next to the piano, so you can kind of glance at your reflection when you're playing piano. And, when I was in college and I was doing my, let me make sure the sound is out. When you're playing? Okay, so I remember even when I was in college, pretty much every practice room that you were ever in, if it was a good practice room with a piano, the wall was always a mirror. So it shows you that's a tool that really helps, and it did really help me. It's almost like when you put a mirror, it's your reflection, but you feel like someone's watching you. You kind of automatically are more self-aware of how your posture is. So that's the last recommendation I have for tools, and that's it for today. And these, just want you to take these as just very traditional, basic guidelines. It's a blueprint, right? So do with it what you will. It's just a starting point, a jump off point for you guys, but make sure you're practicing with good posture. Cannot recommend enough how this is important. Can impact everything about your piano playing. Over time, you can find your own comfort zone with the whole, height and distance thing with the piano. And again, at all costs, you want to take care of your health. Avoid pain. This is not with piano, with music and things like that too. The whole no pain, no gain, that is not a good expression to incorporate, all right? Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got something out of this, please like, subscribe, share, comment, interact with this video, do whatever you want. See you guys next time. Happy practicing.